Hi, this is Kelly. You're listening to Two Broads Talking Politics. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe and give us a review on your favorite podcast app. We can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Overcast, YouTube, Castbox, Spotify, Player FM, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, on your Alexa device, Beyond Pod, MediaGo, Dogcatcher, well, you get the point. Anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find Two Broads Talking Politics. Hi everyone, this is Kelly with Two Broads Talking Politics, and I'm on in this segment with Ike Johnson, who is running in the special election in the North Carolina 3rd Congressional District. Hi, Ike.
Hi, how are you, Kelly?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. So you're running in the primary, which I understand is coming up pretty quickly here. What's the date of the election?
Yes, voting has already started. Early voting has already started. The election day itself is the 30th of the month, April, and early voting started on the 10th. And so we're well into the election phase.
All right. So could you tell us just a little bit about yourself and why you decided to run for this special election?
Well, I am a retired Marine of 27 years. I was served half my career as an enlisted Marine and as an officer. I finished up as a rank of major, and I'm a community leader. I'm very involved in the community here in the 3rd District and more specifically in the Onslow County area. I have a mentoring program that I've been involved in the school system with mentoring our young people for the past 10 years or so. And I'm a former business executive. Back in 2003, I brought some jobs to Eastern North Carolina by way of a military contract through a company called Sodexo Marriott, and I was the vice president for that. And we still have those jobs in this area at the bases at Camp Lejeune and Cherry Point and up and down the East Coast. Very active in my church. I chair the deacon board in my local church here. And just in this race because I want to serve the people of the 3rd District and look out for their values and their concerns because there are many, and it seems that they're not being properly addressed, and I am well equipped to do that for them.
So for our listeners who don't know North Carolina as well, tell me a little bit about the 3rd District. What part of North Carolina is this, and what are the kind of concerns of the people who live there?
Well, it's the northeastern part of North Carolina, from Onslow County, Pitt County, and then the counties that run up the northeast coast of North Carolina. The area, most of the counties touch the coastline of the Atlantic Ocean, and so when and it's a farm, very rural area, a lot of farming, and not as much industry as we'd like to see. Because that's one of the things that we're trying to work on, and that's take care of get more industry in this area. But it's made up of a lot of great people who are doing the right thing, but it seems that our government is not supporting them as well as it could. It is also the concerns of the people, for the most part. Number one concern in this area is health care, and seniors shouldn't have to worry about whether they eat or buy medication. So that is their number one concern. Secondly, we stand the threat of drilling off the coast, and as I mentioned, most of these counties touch the coast, so they have some inlet that's running into the county area by water. So they don't want this beautiful shoreline that we have bothered by drilling or those kind of things that would disrupt it. And so I stand to make sure that don't happen as a congressperson. And of course, industry, infrastructure, jobs, education, you name it. The people of this district have that on their mind as they go to the poll.
So in 2018, the Republican incumbent ran unopposed. And of course, the reason this election is coming up is because he died in office. But in the races before that, when he was opposed, he won a pretty big percentage of the vote. You know, it was often he had 2/3 of the vote. So what do you think is sort of the key to a Democratic victory this time around in this election?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. Congressman Jones was a great individual. The people liked him very well, as you can see by his 20-year plus tenure. And he was always reelected and ran most of the time unopposed. He was great with constituent services. He started out, his father was in this office before he was, and his father was a Democrat. And so he ran one time as a Democrat and was unsuccessful. So he changed the flag to Republican. And of course, many of the Democrats, and I know some of them who gave me this history because they was Democrats, but they loved his father, and they just kind of migrated over to him. And so that's why he's had such a great following in this area over the past 20 years. However, as I mentioned, he was great with constituents. If you called him, he would respond to you. In fact, over the past 10 years or so, I've met with him in his office on an annual basis because I advocate for financial management, consumer concerns, and so he was that kind of person. However, one of the things that he did, he pushed back against the Republicans. However, he would always vote with the Republicans, and I think that is something that was overshadowed by his good constituent services, because people definitely have great things to say about him, and he was a good man.
So do you think that then people this time will be much more open to voting for a Democrat?
Absolutely. I think they are. And I ran a race in 2018. I ran for the state house, and I ran against a 12-year incumbent here in District 14 in Onslow County. And I brought this 12-year incumbent to a single-digit number running against him. So, and I had I was able to bring a large coalition together, Republicans, unaffiliated voters, as well as Democrats, to vote for me. And so I'm sure I can do that same thing district-wide as we move towards the general election, if I'm so fortunate enough to get past the election that we're in now.
Yeah, so both the Democratic and Republican primaries this time around are really crowded. The Republican even more so. But what do you want voters to be thinking about you, to know about you as they're going to the polls, that to fill in your name on the ballot?
Well, I first of all want them to know that, and I tell them this every time I stand in front of them, is that I will be a congressman, and I'm a person that care about people. And I care about all people. I don't discriminate as to who they are, what they've done, or anything like that. I will be a congressman for all the people, and I will vote their values, not mine. My values align with many of theirs. However, I am focused on what they want and how they would like for me to represent them, and that is exactly the way that I will represent them. And I want them to know that, and that I can be trusted with their vote. I've been in the public sphere for most of my life in a service role, and my reputation precedes me as an honest person and a person that will definitely fight for what they want and not necessarily my personal concerns.
So you mentioned that you had started a mentoring program. I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about that and sort of what that being involved in that mentoring program sort of, what that brings to you in terms of being able to mentor as a congressperson, people who are coming up in political service.
Well, it's something that when I left the Marine Corps and left working, if you will, retired, it was my goal to spend a lot of my time working with the young people. I've been afforded the great pleasure of having some great mentors to get me to where I am, and I'm a benefactor of that, to include my parents. And so it's my desire that I work with young people who don't have those opportunities, and I put together a group of adults, a lot of Marine retired in the area, and so we go into the school once a week, and then we go into our alternative school. We have an alternative school here where kids have been displaced because of behavior concerns or something they did that got them tossed out into the alternative school, and we spend time with them, kind of re-engineering their thought process and helping them to see things anew, as well as focus on their future goals and try to help them clarify those, which I know that as they focus on those things, it will empower them to stay on track. And so we have some good track records over the past 10 years in doing this with young people, both high school students as well as middle school students. And we work with the boys and the girls. And in fact, we've been very successful. Our mentoring organization is in the Hall of Fame of our Onslow County school system for our efforts in that area.
So talk to me a little bit about the kind of things you've been doing, campaigning. I know I've seen pictures of you out knocking doors. What does a campaign in a special election look like?
It is like a water hose, a fire hydrant, I guess I could say. We didn't have the luxury of gearing up and putting things in place as well as we would have liked to in a normal campaign, because this is a special election, and trying to find ways to reach the people. I'm not a rich person, and so I vowed not to take PAC money from corporations. So I am pretty dependent on people who believe in what I'm doing and what I can bring to the table, and their kind donations to empower our People Power campaign. And so they graciously have been giving, and so I'm using those resources as best I can to get our message out, knocking doors, phone calls, showing up at every event that we possibly can, so that we do all we can to make sure they hear our message and know that we care about them, and that we are more than willing to be their representative at the federal government level.
If people who are listening would like to help out with your campaign, how can they do that?
They can go to our website, Ike2019.com, and they can learn more about our campaign there, as well as if they'd like to make a financial contribution, I'd be more than pleased to receive it and continue this fight in this primary election so that we can be the representative of the people of the 3rd District.
So obviously we're in a time when Congress is fairly deadlocked, broken, partisan. Do you have thoughts on sort of, if you were to get into Congress, ways that you could, help make things start working again, help things start moving again?
Well, I've always been pretty resourceful in my military career. I've done some things that was way above my rank in a couple of places. Let me just share one with you. When I was in the military, I was a crew service officer, and I had the opportunity to some people from GAO showed up at my office, government accounting office showed up at my office, and they was querying the services on the ideal of buying food from local vendors like a restaurant do. And they was asking the question if we could do that as a military service. And they informed me that they had spoke to all the other services, and this was their last stop at the Marine Corps. And so I told them absolutely we could do that. And they spent a day and a half with me, 2 days with me after that, because they were so shocked that all the other services had turned them down because this is a process that had been taking place since World War II, where we buy food, keep millions of dollars worth of food in our warehouse on base, and then the mess facilities buy it from us and feed the troops. It was a pretty antiquated process, but everybody, all the services had agreed they wanted to stay with it except for me. And after I showed them why, because I was getting ready to buy, we was going to build at Parris Island a $12 million warehouse. And so they took the information they learned from me back to the two Congress people who had asked them to go out and do this study. And I asked them to let those people know that I would love to be the project guy for this, do the test. And so I was, 3 months later, they called me, and I was the person, long story short, who did the 1-year test. And we held with success, and the rest is history. All the services now buy food that way. Supplies come in. You order 2 days out. It comes in 3 times a week. And it works just like a restaurant. So that's just one of the many things I can tell you about where I'm very resourceful, and I have a keen eye to work across the aisles wherever they may be, where that if there's something there that will benefit the people of the 3rd District, you can bet that I will be that person making sure that their interest is taken care of.
Is there anything else that you'd like to make sure we talk about?
Well, I just want to encourage everyone at this point to get out to the polls. Of course, in a special election, the vote count is very low so far, and trying to, and that's why we're trying to get the word out so people will know that the election is, first of all, going on. I still run into people that don't know that, but at the same time, choosing someone that care about them and that will vote their interests and their values is key. And so I invite them to learn more about who I am and what I stand for and what I will represent them as with the federal government. And so I look forward to that.
All right. Well, Ike, thank you so much for speaking with me today, and I'll let you get back to what I'm sure is a very busy schedule of trying to get out the vote.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And just a reminder to everyone who's listening, Ike2019.com is where you can find me, and please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much, Kelly.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Two Broads Talking Politics. Our theme song is called Are You Listening? Off of the album Elephant Shaped Trees by the band Immunuri, and we're using it with permission of the band. Our logo and other original artwork is by Matthew Wethlin and was created for use by this podcast.